Hello all, my name is Dr. B.S. Patil. I am working at V.M. Salgaonkar College of Law as Assistant Professor in Goa. Today I am going to discuss with you all a new module under access to justice, that is access to justice to women. My approach for access to justice to women is quite different from the earlier model, because here I am concentrating on one major issue concerning women, that is domestic violence. Domestic violence is a major issue in India, and not only in India, it is a major issue all over the world. And how this issue of domestic violence is being dealt in Indian legal system, and somewhere one slide I would be dedicating it to international requirements also. So, the whole discussion would be relating to the domestic violence and access to justice. So, if you take the domestic violence into consideration, it is a universal concern, and it is not a universal concern of today or yesterday, it is universal concern from ages. And domestic violence is a problem for all age, race, gender or status. And I know I added the term gender in this because men are also victims of domestic violence. And secondly, it is again not specific to any strata of the society. Everybody, including people belonging to higher strata, middle level, higher middle or lower middle, lower level of the society, all face this kind of problems. However, the state is looking into the domestic violence relating to women, as the number of victims, female victims outnumber the male. So, therefore, there is a need for an urgent remedial steps against domestic violence in women. Now, today's study I am going to take up first meaning of domestic violence, then who are all victims of the domestic violence, then there is going to be brief discussion on major causes why the domestic violence happens. The effect on the victims, that is again are going to be my major concern in this study. So, when we have this initial brief discussion on domestic violence, then I will take up the Act of 2005, that is Domestic Violence Act, generally known as Domestic Violence Act 2005, and under this act I am going to discuss the complaint procedure, the types of wrongs that is been recognized as domestic violence under the act, redressal mechanism, the duties, orders that could be passed under this legislation. So, these are quite a few things that I am going to take up for discussion in this module. Now, first coming with the task of defining domestic violence. I know it is a very difficult task to provide a meaning to the term domestic violence, because the type of ill treatment is unending and infinite. And I know you all are sitting from different parts of India and watching this presentation. For you all, domestic violence carry different meaning based upon your cultural background. Not talking to a spouse, can this be a domestic violence? I know there are answers yes, no, but for me, not talking to a spouse can be a domestic violence. So, therefore, when we attempted to define the term domestic violence, it is not, there should not be an attempt to define it, but attempt should be given to give a general idea about domestic violence. So, therefore, here simply it mentions like this: harm committed against members of family or intimate unit by other members of such family or intimate unit. So, there are two things to be concentrated upon. Number one is members and other members. So, there is no specific talk about husband, it can be anybody who can cause domestic violence. Second, it need not be limited to the term family. They also consider intimate unit, which do not fit into the traditional definition of family. So, both have been taken into consideration. So, moving on from the meaning of domestic violence to the victims of domestic violence. Now, again here, while defining victims of domestic violence, it is being made gender neutral, and the list goes like this: a spouse, a child, a parent can be a victim, any other household relation, and most interestingly, partners in living in relationship can also be a victim of domestic violence. Now, this is a new addition looking into the change that we see in the society. So, people in living in relationship are considered to be family. That is what in the definition of domestic violence we use the term intimate unit. So, in all these situations, even though they are gender neutral, looking into the name of the act, we consider these are all female that they have been referred to in the list of victims. Now, why domestic violence happen against women? Now, when you try to answer the question why, there are four answers that comes to my mind. One is patriarchal pattern of society, where male members rule the family. Basic nature of women. So, again I should not be blamed for blaming woman for her problems, but there are certain basic natures which can cause the domestic violence. Proprietary right over woman means woman is treated as a property. Then inferiority complex suffered by women. So, these are the four major causes for domestic violence. Now, let me take up one at a time. So, patriarchal form of society. India, not only India, many parts of the world are patriarchally arranged. So, where male member enjoys all the power and control. The male dominance is never questioned. What happens with male dominance in a family? It comes with one small side effect. The side effect of this male dominance is female is expected to be obedient. Not only obedient, she is supposed to accept protection and care of men in the family. That cannot be refused. This sense of superiority, sense of dominance can end up with violence. So, therefore, the basic problem with domestic violence is the thinking process of the men, and also to some extent thinking process of the women. Now, coming to the basic nature of women. Now, when you look at the basic nature of women, they are, again I am filing a caveat here, I am going to talk about the majority women, may not be all women. So, here I am trying to submit that the submissive and compromising nature of the women, it is commonly seen. The need to protect a relationship, I think women would more worried about protecting a relationship, especially intimate relationship. They do not ever think of breaking the relationship, and this urge to protect relationship, urge to compromise, urge to be submissive can lead to abuse. Not only it can lead to abuse, she is agreeing to suffer abuse, because her main prominent reason is protecting relationship. So, women herself think that she need to obey men, and most importantly, many women think that slight violent reaction to a situation is agreeable and it is tolerable. Making a big issue out of that slight violent reaction supposed to be treated as unbecoming of women. So, this basic nature encourages men to commit domestic violence. So, the proprietary right over woman is the third issue relating to women. Now, here women are viewed as objects. In a proprietary right, what happens? We consider them to be property and they are considered as object. Now, what happens when something is considered as an object is we do not provide self-worth to that object, and we do not expect that object to hold rights. And this thinking that they do not have rights, they do not have self-worth, in addition they do not have emotions. So, therefore, exercise of domination can lead to a situation where they are not even treated as human being. They would end up being treated as property. Lastly, the inferiority complex, I should say it is the result of the combined impact of all the first three reasons. Now, in a woman body, there are two emotions which are fighting against each other: low social status, low economic status, and low status as compared to men. It is one emotional problem. It is having a clash with another set of emotions like competitiveness, anxiety, prove herself. So, when these conflicting, contradicting emotions fight against each other in one single person's mind, it would lead to an inferiority complex, and finally it may lead to destruction of self esteem. So, there is a struggle for satisfaction of ego, there is a struggle to satisfaction of self esteem, but the problem is the society is not allowing to do it. So, this inferiority complex further leads to domestic violence.